Hey viewers, my name's Cara. I'm your host for Tuesdays here on the Pagan Perspective. This week we are answering a question from our very own Meghan, who asked us, what is the best advice or inspiration that we've received throughout our path? And then what is our best advice or inspiration that we would want to pass on to newer generations of the craft? The topic, as Meghan wrote it, will be in the description, the text in the description below. Here we go. Good start, Cara. Okay. So I've been thinking about this a lot today. Trying to think, for me, I feel like I can definitely speak to inspiration. But I was thinking about advice, like what's the best advice I've given? And I've realized that I have a conception of the word advice as meaning something that someone has told me. So this would be like mostly things that I've been told directly, or like when we make videos and we're giving advice to new practitioners, which we've done on Pagan Perspective. In the past, we have done weeks just about giving advice. And so I realized that that's a conception that I have. And so as I'm thinking about things, I'm thinking of lots of lessons that I've learned throughout my practice. But then I'm like, well, that's just a lesson that I learned. That's not really advice that I was given. That's just something that came up in life, that through various methods I learned a lesson, and maybe now I impart that lesson as advice to other people, but I didn't really receive it as advice. So I've been trying to really delineate in my mind what would I consider advice that I got from people. And I can't think of any particularly that right now that I think of in my mind as advice that someone gave me. But help that I've received from people, or like general things that I've learned from people that have been really important to me, I got you on that. I'm going to share that in a second. And inspiration, I can definitely talk about. Camera? What is this camera doing? Anyway, so I watched Rich's video before I did this as well. If you're just tuning in, you don't know what this channel is. This is a collaborative channel, so I'm not the only person who posts on this channel. We're a whole team of people answering the same topic every week. And so it's Tuesday, I'm the Tuesday host. Yesterday, on Monday, Rich made a video about this same topic. And Rich mentioned a bunch of things that I actually already thought about. But also Rich mentioned Annie. Annie, we love you. I have to catch up on your newer videos, I realized when I watched Rich's video. And then I was like, oh yeah, I was going to talk about Annie. I haven't watched any of her new videos. So Annie, we love you. And you've obviously made a big impact, because one of the first things I thought of was various conversations that I had had with Annie over the time that she was on this collaborative channel. So for those of you who don't know, Annie is Mirth and Reverence on YouTube. And yeah, like one of the earliest times that Annie really helped me out. And so this isn't really advice, which you'll see. But there was a time when I was really confused because people on the internet can really be huge jerks. And when I first started on YouTube and I was fairly new in my path, like talking about my path to other people, a lot of people wanted to, find the beginners who they feel like they don't really know what they're doing yet and just pound it into you that you're not good enough and you don't know enough and you're wrong and you're doing it wrong and you're never going to do it right. And if you don't do it exactly this way, you're going to tear a rift in the space-time continuum. Like, it's going to be awful. Don't even try. Like, so it was one of those times where I was just like, I don't believe what they're saying, but so many people keep saying this to me. Am I actually doing something wrong? I've always been that kind of person. Like, if somebody comes up to me and they're like, you messed up, trying to keep it a little more PG with my language right now, you messed up, then before I just defensively, I'm like, no, I didn't. I can do no wrong. I am always the kind of person who will be like, hold please. Did I do something wrong? Well, I'm going to do my research. I'm going to check myself, like, what happened here, so I can actually figure it out. And then, if I found out that I didn't really do anything wrong, that's when I'll be like, no, I didn't. You're just being a lot right now. You're just being rude, whatever. So I was having one of those times, right? And because I was pretty young, and Annie is one of the only traditional Wiccans that I knew at the time. I know a lot more now. But at the time, we were talking about a specific thing that, like, people had told me, and Annie was like, all right, well, here's what we're gonna do. Tell me what you do. Like, tell me, step by step, what do you do when you go through this? What does this mean to you? Why are you doing this? Rich talked about the question of why, that he learned that from Annie. Yeah, so basically just like, and I was like, cool, like, because if I'm wrong, I want to know that I'm wrong so I can know what the heck these people are talking about finally. So I just told Annie everything. I just laid it all out. I was like, this is what I do. This is what I'm thinking. This is how I feel the energy is moving. This is why I think I'm doing it. This is what I think is happening. This is what I'm feeling, all this stuff. And then just hearing her thoughts about that and validation that, like, the way that I was doing things was helpful. So that was one of the first times that, you know, one of the biggest lessons sort of that I learned from Annie. And it was really just one of validation, which I think is important a lot of the time. And I've got that from, I have a friend who is a traditional Wiccan high priestess, although not Gardnerian. And also, when I was even younger, before YouTube, who I met this friend on a blog site, okay, that I don't even think exists anymore. And it was the same thing, where they were just very willing to talk to me as a solitary, as a non-initiate, as someone who didn't have access to covens and traditional lineages and being taught by those people. You know, I was teaching myself and learning through books and also just, like, connecting and finding out, how does this actually feel in my body and in my energy field, and what do I feel like this means? And this person was just willing to share with me. And so a lot of my early, like, advice, I guess, and validation was just like, trust yourself. You know what you're doing. People on the internet are just being rude because we don't know why. Who knows why people on the internet are rude? But just validating that, like, you know what you're doing. You're fine. You are doing the same things that we would be doing in a coven situation. And, like, yeah, don't worry so much. So that was a lot of my earlier stuff. And so, yeah, translating that into advice that I would give to other people today. One, don't be a jerk on the internet just because you can be a jerk on the internet. Don't be a jerk in real life either. Hello? There's that. But also, yeah, if people decide to be a jerk, don't automatically assume that you didn't do anything wrong, because maybe if occasionally someone has a real point in there somewhere, and hopefully they won't be a jerk in telling you about it. Hopefully they'll still address you like a human being and be like, hey, I think you messed up here. I think you said something wrong. And, you know, don't be afraid to say, yeah, I did. I messed up. Like, when you come over here and check yourself out, if you're like, oh, shoot. Yeah, no, I did. Thank you, because now I learned something. But definitely, it's always better if it's presented in a nice way and not just somebody being a jerk and yelling at you. Because if you're just being yelled at, then your first thought is to be defensive, and that's not helpful. So, yeah. Or often, like, my first actual response will be to be defensive, but I won't write back to them in that mode, right? I'll feel defensive, and then I'll be like, wait, check it out. And then if it warrants a response, I'll respond in a better way. But also, now I'm just, like, stuck on advice, so I want to give more advice, but no. What other advice or inspiration have I gained? Have I received? All the things I'm thinking of are just more in terms of validation, that, like, when I went to witch camp for the first time a few years ago, which again I thank Brendan, who is now a former member of the collab. Brendan has stepped down to pursue other things in their life. We love you, Brendan. And when I found out about the opportunity that led me to my first witch camp because of Brendan and got to share that experience with them, going to my first witch camp was a new kind of validation, because there were some things that I had taught myself that I was ready to find out if I was wrong about them. I was ready to learn new stuff, and I definitely learned new stuff. But I also found that there were some things that I had just been doing on my own, at home, alone, for all these years. And then here I am in this community of witches, some of whom were trained by people in person, witches, not just through books like I was, who were doing things exactly the same way that I was. And I was just like, this is awesome, just like feeling that connection. So yeah, validation is a big thing, which I always feel like you shouldn't need, but also don't should on yourself. Just because you shouldn't need it doesn't mean you should feel bad about yourself when you do feel like you need to be validated every now and again. I go through ups and downs, as you all know. So yeah, recently, a lot of my inspiration and validation reminders that I'm doing okay, that I'm on the right track, has come from a lot of the witches that I admire, who I look up to, who are, if I were in a degree system, you would say they are a higher degree than me. They know more, they've been doing it longer, maybe, I don't know how long a lot of them have been doing it, but they've learned more, they've progressed to another level for whatever reason. And so I look up to them for that reason. Feeling like there's a lot of stuff going on now that's different. I'm feeling the changes. I'm feeling the community change and shift. And some of the time, a lot of the time lately, I feel like it's shifting in a direction away from me and the people like me who have been doing the things that we're doing, and the way that we do them, I feel like is getting left behind and forgotten, because people are drawn to, like, okay, so like, I love ravens, right? And so I have this image of like ravens and shiny things, like just flocking off to the shiny thing that, they caught a glimpse of it glinting in the sun off in the distance, and they're like, shiny, and they go over there, right? That's how I feel like, and we're still sitting here like, okay, we're not as shiny. Does that mean we're not as good anymore? And just like having that little doubt. And so a lot of my inspiration lately has been going back to those people that I look up to and seeing like that they're not doing the shiny thing. That sounds so silly. But that's what it is, has been like reminding myself that the people that I look up to are still doing things the way that I vibe with, the way that I've been doing it. Not that it's like, oh, you've been doing this forever, so you have to do it the same way always. Like, no. Change is good. Bring in some new things, fresh ideas. Like, that's all good. That's not what I mean. But just reminding myself that through them, through their influence and through their inspiration to me, that certain ways of going about things are still just as valid, and there's still so much new stuff to be found in that it's, there's so much to explore on this path, that like I don't need to be distracted by the shiny and try to go fly with all the people following the shiny things. I know that sounds super weird. But anyway, yeah. So, advice that I would give, just go watch all my videos. And I'm not saying that's my advice. My advice is go watch all my videos because then you'll be better. No. What I mean is, I've talked about advice that I would give so often, and so many of my videos are talking about things that I would want to impart to other people. So definitely, yeah, watch my videos, follow my social media, because I'm always telling you stuff that I think people should know. You can relate to it or not, listen to it or not, but I'm always putting it out there. And that's what I'm doing. But I'll try to put a few nuggets in this video right now. I don't want it to be too much longer. I'm at 15 minutes already. Okay. But yeah, so thinking back to the validation and the advice or the inspiration that I've been given. Yeah, okay, so I didn't write this down. So don't be afraid to say when you don't know something. It's not cool anymore to pretend like you know everything. That, I guess, was cool decades ago, when it was really important to seem like you had this long-standing lineage that proves why people should listen to you. That's not as much a thing anymore. It's not cool anymore to be uppity about what you know and comparing what you know to somebody else and meaning that nobody should listen to them. I feel like there's people who might not know as much as I know about generalized subjects about paganism, because like Rich was talking about in his video, I like to give myself what I call a basic working knowledge of a variety of topics. I might not know a ton about them, but I try to know at least a conversational amount, that if it comes up in conversation, I have a general idea of what people are talking about. Or if I run into someone who says, hey, what's this, fill in the blank, I have enough knowledge to point them in a direction to go learn more. So that, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. So just, yeah, don't be afraid to say when you don't know things. It's not cool to act like you know everything automatically anymore. Oh, I feel like there are people who don't know as much about random things that I might know, but there are a lot of things that I don't know about. So there could be someone who has a ton of knowledge about a particular subject that I don't know very much about, but they don't know a lot about some generalized stuff that I know. Does that mean one of us knows more than the other? No, it depends on what you're talking about. So you might be more inclined to listen to them about the subject that they know a lot more about, and listen to me about things that I know more about than they do. But that's, you see what I mean? So, yeah. But I just always think, and this is something that's been coming up a lot in my personal life too, that I have some people around me in my life right now who are the kind of people, well, one person in particular that I'm thinking of, who is like, it's very important to them to look like they're in charge and know what they're doing constantly. And if it seems like they might be caught in a situation where they don't know everything, rather than admit that they don't know and just be chill about it and be like, let's find out ourselves, they will make something up, which is not cool. So other advice, don't make stuff up. Don't lie. My intention for this year is truth, capital T truth, and that doesn't just mean telling the truth and like honesty and not lying, but it's absolutely part of it. Be honest about stuff. Come on. Similar to what Rich was saying, follow what you want to be studying, you know, like don't feel, and so where I would expand on this is, don't feel pressured to know absolutely everything about absolutely everything on day 10 of your path, right? It takes time. It's a lifelong path. I've been doing this for over 10 years, and there's still a lot of areas that I haven't fleshed out fully. I have that basic working knowledge of them, but I haven't fleshed them out fully because I haven't felt drawn to. There's so much to learn about the things that I am drawn to that goes on forever. So don't feel pressured to know everything about everything and feel like you have to spend a ton of time learning every little tidbit and detail about things that aren't really calling to you, simply because there are people on the internet who think you should know about that, and why don't you know about that, and how dare you not know about that, because it's what they're into. That's cool. That's what they're into. It doesn't have to be what you're into right now. I think it's helpful to know a little bit about a lot of things, But yeah, in the past, I definitely had people act like that toward me who were like, why don't you know about this, about my path? Like, well, I'd like to know about your path, and maybe I will later on, but I'm focusing on a lot of stuff right now that's really, central to my path right now. And that's okay. So do what you need to be doing for your path. And don't feel pressured to sway away from that if it's not something that's calling to you right now. Yeah. Those are probably the biggest things that I was thinking of just today. But I've definitely given generalized advice for people in the past many times, and I will always be doing that. It's what I do. So yeah, I'm just waiting to see if anything else is going to come to me. Yeah. Have fun. Have fun. Stuff always goes better when you're having fun and when you're enjoying it. And if you're not, take a break. I had to do that today. I got to a point where I was like, I need to take a break. I need to not do this anymore right now. Not that you'll never do it again, but take a break when you need it, step away when you need it, and try to get a clearer view on things and take a nap, maybe, whatever you need to do. So, yeah. It's a great topic. I know we'll talk about this kind of stuff again in the future because it's advice and we're always giving advice. People are asking us questions. That's what you do here. That's how the channel works. If you have any questions for us, you can, there's on our discussion page on the main channel. If you go to our main channel page and it's like in the community tab, I think it's changed. In the community tab, there's a post that says, comment below this post with your topic suggestions. You can put stuff there. Or you can, I think you can still private message the Pagan Perspective channel and we'll find stuff there. Otherwise, we're going to start bringing in some topics from the early years of the collab that it's time to revisit, maybe if we haven't. And we're also going to do some more topics from the team, stuff that we've been coming up with. So yeah, I'll see you next time. Until then, don't forget to be awesome. Blessed be. Those are probably two of my main things of advice too. Don't forget to be awesome. Be awesome. Be blessed. Blessed be. And goodbye.